So what do you get when you have a Fujifilm X100 Mark VI and you divide it by 2? Yes, you get a Fujifilm X100T, a camera which is roughly 30% of the price with roughly 60 to 70% of all the features. In this episode I'm going to explain to you why I think this is a brilliant camera in 2025 if you either don't have the budget or you simply don't need a lot of megapixels and video quality. So to start with, the Fujifilm X100T was released back in 2014, so it's a good 11 years old at the time of recording. It was the third iteration coming out. It started with the X100, then you had the X100S for second, and this is the third one. It comes with a 16 megapixel X-Trans2 sensor, the exact same lens, 23mm f2 as on all the X100 series cameras. It does have the same ND filter as in all the cameras. It comes with the great feature which nobody talks about, is the leaf shutter that allows you to basically shoot at whatever shutter speed you want using the built-in flash or an external flash. It comes with quite a few film sims, pretty much a stripped down version from what you get in the latest iteration, but still good enough for most of us. There also is even a little internal memory built into it, which is not something to write home about, as it just carries one RAW and a JPEG, and then you have to delete your file pretty quickly, and it also causes this particular copy to hang, so you have to get the battery out. So therefore, if you buy this or if you're shooting with this, in this copy I have to remove the battery, put it back in. Now obviously the writing speeds, because it's an X-Trans 2 processor, are a little bit slower than in the X100, but not too slow, so you can pretty much do something with it. This is pretty much the specs, and there's a lot of the same features as you see on all the later iterations. Obviously from a tech perspective, this camera is a little bit older, so it's not as savvy if you want to do video. This supports 2.7K up to, I think it is 60 frames, which is not bad, but it can't compete with modern mobile phones, nor with the Fujifilm X100 Mark V and 6. But that said, it's a pretty cool camera. The weight on this camera is also a big selling point to me. It's 440 grams. It has a back end here, just 2.3 million dots. It comes obviously with the optical rangefinder style viewfinder and the digital style viewfinder. So you've got both the OVF and the EVF, which is pretty awesome. There's also no tilt or flippy screen. It is what it is. There are some compromises obviously with older tech. So how does this camera hold up? Well, obviously the autofocus is not as crisp as on the later iterations, notably the Mark V and 6 of the X100 series, but as long as you shoot in single, which most of us Fujifilm users know is still the best way to shoot with this camera, you can get pretty good results. There are a few times where in contrast, high contrast situations, it occasionally tends to struggle, so sometimes I have to enlarge or minimize the actual autofocusing zone, but it works pretty okay. It's not super sticky. Continuous obviously shows its age, but single, very good. Now there's one thing here where it shows its age is the write speeds, but since you can shoot 6 frames per second, if you shoot in continuous or in burst mode, don't worry. The write speeds are there, but you can still take your picture. So there's nothing wrong with that as well, if you're willing to accept that things are a bit older. Now the battery life here is, if I compare that to my X70, is actually for some reason a bit better. They're not super batteries because, you know, I'm also somebody who switches off and on his camera a lot, so I'm not continuously having it open. But you can definitely see here that 2-3 batteries for a day shooting, it's kind of mandatory. Good things are these batteries are very cheap. Unfortunately, they're not the same batteries as on many of the actual Fujis, but it's an excellent. Now, one of the other things where I see film sims, I'm missing a few, to be very honest. The one I actually miss a bit is the Eterna, which came out with the X-Trans 4 cameras. The rest I have classic chrome, I have neg, I have all the black and white monochromes I need, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now there's one thing here, the white balance I definitely see from my experience with the X100 Mark V is, you see an episode here, is that the white balance on those cameras is a little bit better. Here I would always suggest to shoot in Kelvin 6300. which basically means you control the entire color temperature, as I sometimes see that the white balance seems to shift a little bit. And when I put it on Kelvin for warm days on 6300, colder days, somewhere between 4800 and 5500, I think that actually really improves your photography as a whole. So I don't think it's really model dependent, but it's something that you need to know. Now we go to the next topic here, which is used prices. And that's where things get a little bit particular, because at MPB I see them somewhere between 690 to 800. I got this copy for 500, so that's a pretty good deal. Now the battery door doesn't fully function, the spring I think is broken or something, so I have to kind of click it out. But other than that, this camera functions very well. So who is this camera for? Well, honestly, if you're on a more tighter budget, or you simply don't want to spend a lot of money on the latest and the greatest, this might be for you. If you're also a photography centric person, you would love this camera. I have to admit that if you want to do hybrid, you're better off going for an X100 Mark V or a Mark VI. Both of them have way better video capabilities than all its predecessors. And if you're a lover of the old Fujifilm sensors, the X-Trans 1, 2 and 3, this could be a camera for you. Now, this was it for today. Talk to you later.